Fantastic. We're having a great time. I realized 15 minutes ago that this was starting, and I said 10 minutes before that it was only 5 o'clock. I don't know what happened. It's my great honor and privilege to be able to introduce to you Willow Garage tonight, and I'm glad to have you here to celebrate with us a really significant milestone in the history of our country. This is something we've been working on for 2.5 years, the release of the PR2 robots that you'll see in a couple of minutes, and the robot operating system, ROS. And it's just something that we've been working really hard on, and the people here have worked incredibly hard, and it's just it's fantastic to be here. It's my privilege tonight to introduce our founder. Let me tell you a story about that. When I started my career, I was in St. Louis at Washington University Medical School, and I had this kid that we hired come to work for me. He was the most amazing systems software engineer that I had ever worked with, and here he was coming out of undergraduate. Fast forward, that was about 20 years ago. Fast forward about 15 years ago to when I was 10. At that time, I came out to Stanford University to work my PhD, and right after that, he came out to work at Stanford as well, and we actually shared an office for a little while. And after that, our paths diverged a little bit. I went to Xerox PARC, and a number of people here from Xerox PARC that I know, and to IBM, kind of the corporate research and technology development route. And he went off the other direction to startup land. He did a company called E-Groups, and a lot of E-Groups people here right now. And you know, what I said to myself at that time was, if I ever get a chance to work with Scott again, I'm going to take it. And so in 2 words, the reason I'm at Willow Garage, and the reason that I left IBM and sort of the big corporate world to come to my first startup with Scott Hassan, those are the 2 words. Scott is a good friend and an amazing visionary, and in addition to being an amazing systems programmer, has become somebody who just has a great intuitions about where the market's going, where the world is going. And so I'm proud to be a part of this organization that we've created together and to celebrate this milestone with him. And with that, let me turn it over to him to talk about his vision for Willow Garage.
Thank you, Steve. I'm really excited tonight to tell you 3 things. First, why are robots good? Why do we have them? And how are we going to make them happen? So, in order to explain the first one, why are robots good, I'm going to have to step back and give you the big picture. Yeah, it's not big enough. It could be a little bigger. So, we all live on this nice little planet, and we're very productive here. Our estimated world GWP, gross world product, is roughly $61 trillion. That's a lot of cash. But where's most of this come from? Most of this actually, this productivity, it comes from factories. And we have a huge increase from, those are the slides. So we've had a huge increase in productivity. So where's all this productivity come from? These come from factories. And in factories, well, let me tell you a little story about factories. A few years ago, it was more like 10 years ago, I'm getting a little old, and there I went with a group of friends, who most are here tonight, and we visited all of the wonderful temples in big cities, and even the hot springs, over there and right there, and in the hot springs, definitely I recommend visiting. But the most amazing thing we saw there was a Toyota car manufacturing plant. Well, at least I thought so. And there, I was really amazed. I saw all these workers doing stuff, and all these robots doing stuff. I was like, wow, this is really cool. And I asked one of the tour guide, and I was like, how many people work here? He said, oh, about 400 people. And I was like, wow. And how many cars do you make? And he said, 500 cars in a shift. And I was like, wow. I thought it was absolutely impressive that 400 people can make that many cars in one day. If I thought to myself, if I had all the tools and all the stuff, it'd probably take me years to make that happen, to actually do it myself. And so I asked myself, how are they so productive? Are they stronger than me? Or are they faster? Or something like that? But actually, it turns out they're just like you and I. so if that's true, then there must be something more special. It turns out they work in a factory where it's all optimized to make whatever device they have. And it actually uses people and mechanisms and assembly lines, and but most importantly, they use automation and robotics to create this productivity. And so then, following my logical argument, that what if you're able to take that automation out of the factory and into our everyday lives? Wouldn't that be cool? Because I look at my automation in my everyday life, and I look at my washer and my dryer, and I'm like, the washer can't even put the clothes in the dryer by itself. and the factories are like doing windshields and doing all these crazy things. So, and what if we were able to do that? What if we were able to give that type of productivity from the factory into our normal everyday lives? I believe that would increase our economy by orders of magnitude. Not just like a little gain here and there, like 1%. I'm talking in the hundreds of percent change. So that number I had before, that 61 trillion, multiply by that by, they say, 200. That could be our total GWP 100 years from now. And so that's the game I want to play. I want to play big games. So, so why are robots good? Robots are good because I think they'll do great things to our economy. And besides, who wouldn't want to have a robot? I think it's one of those innate things that you want to have. And in January, I asked my mom. Well, my dad was like saying, well, "Why are you building robots? You know, robots are you know, how are you going to sell them to and stuff like that?" And I was like, I don't know. I'm still looking at it. And I asked my mom, "Hey, Mom, do you want to buy a robot?" And she said, "Yes, I want to buy a robot." And I was like, "Great, I got a first customer." But so then my second question was, why don't we have them in our everyday lives? Why aren't they around? If they're such a good idea and they're going to be so productive, why aren't they here? Good question. I mean, they are little Roombas running around, and there are a couple other robots. But why don't we have the robot they promise us in the world's fairs and stuff like that? And my answer to that question is, robots are hard. They're hard to do. One of the reasons why they're hard is they're a complex combination of mechanical systems, electrical systems, and software. Lots and lots and lots of software. And in order to do that, in order to build this complicated thing, you have to have really awesome mechanical engineers, really awesome electrical engineers, and really fabulous software guys. So, and all those guys, I found out, because I came from the software world, so I'm in this camp over here, and I started talking to some mechanical engineers, and they talk a completely different language. I mean, it's really hard to even talk to them, because they are always saying, "Oh, that's a software problem," and I'm saying, "No, your systems are not working correctly," and they're all blaming each other, and it's really hard to actually get them all to work together. But I think we found a way to make that happen. We give them food. So now robots are hard, but there's even more problems. So if there's just one problem, that's not a deal breaker. But there's also very little investment going into robotics today. Very, very little, especially personal robotics. Japan puts most of the money into personal robotics because they see as their national, what do you call it? A national duty to do this. So to handle a lot of their elderly people. And if there's no investment in it, then people won't work on it. So if there's any VCs in the room, let's get some money into robotics. And the reason why, one of the biggest reasons why there's very little investment in robotics is because there's no market for robotics today. Because robots can't really do anything that useful that you're willing to actually spend a lot of money for. So if there's no market, then there's no investment. There's no investment. There's no one who's working on it. So thus we have no robots.